take projection.
It's Wednesday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
And this is Steven.
And hopefully Patrick will get to join us before we're done for the day. He is currently stuck in traffic in Nashville. So he may, if he doesn't make it here in time for our full gear coverage at the last half hour of the show, then he'll record something and we'll slap it on the end of the show. But let's get on into SmackDown from last week. We'll cover WWE first. I will go ahead and say that Steven's just going to carry this one because I didn't get to watch SmackDown. And then last night I had a major back issue, kind of fucked up my back moving some stuff. So I just laid there and watched the football game that was on last night, Eagles versus the Chiefs. So
did you have a dog in that fight?
I not really. I like the Eagles. I say I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles since Jalen Hurts has played for them and Devontae Smith. Now,
do you consider Jalen to be an Alabama guy?
I mean, yes, but it's probably not right.
Because I'm a Panther fan, so you know I'm suffering this year because I got Alabama right behind that line at 1-9, and I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the Patriots.
Yeah,
and I'm struggling to see Alabama producing a quarterback, but that's a different podcast.
Yeah. Well,
it took what?
I don't know if either of those two losing teams have anybody worth a shit. Like the Panthers traded their two best offensive players, so.
And we got nothing coming next year either. That's what's even worse.
Yeah, that's the tough part there is they trade away their two top offensive producers. So Bryce has got nobody to help bail him out. And Mac Jones is in a similar situation. He's got a little better product up there, but I mean, not by much. But then when I say that, I know it sounds like I'm just making up excuses for the Bama guys, right?
Yeah. But then again, I given a chance, I will root against Patrick Mahomes all day long. I don't know if he kicked my dog at some points, stole my wife, took some money from me. I don't know. I want him to fail. He's like my Tom Brady that everybody else hates. I just don't want him to win to save his life.
Same. I was that way about Brady, so can't fault you there. Well, let's get into SmackDown. You got some notes starting off, so just let's run through some of them.
All righty. Want to start off with, I guess, that we started off with Damage Control on Friday, didn't we? We've got Bayley out there who is just in complete denial. Meanwhile, we got Asuka, Io, and Kairi Sane and Dakota just kind of talking to each other, and Bayley's hyping herself up like she's the mastermind of everything. Meanwhile, you get that oh crap moment where Dakota's like, well, hold on. What she said was, not everybody, this isn't the new Damage Control because not everybody in this ring is in the new Damage Control. And you saw that look on Bayley's face where she sold it like, this is that moment, crowds into it. And then it's just that swerve of, because we haven't inducted Asuka yet, and that's your job.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful because it's coming. Oh man, I'm loving that kind of drama of waiting for that inevitable of Bayley getting stomped out by the new Damage Control. That sets up our War Games.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff where they're looking for that fourth member. Because it's only going to be 4-4 for the women.
So I see the other note, I guess, on War Games there at the bottom of the SmackDown notes. It says War Games Becky.
Yep, that was their fourth person after, you had the new Damage Control going around. Anybody that Charlotte, Bianca, and Shotzi talked to got an ass whipping backstage. So they basically made it so Becky was going to be that person. And I think that's a solid match.
Yeah.
There's some drama on both of them. You got the dissension between Charlotte and Becky. You got same thing with Belair. You got the potential of Bayley being the one that gets the loss and expediting that exit. I got a note on there about the language too, and this I love this what WWE is doing with its foreign based wrestlers in the sense of allowing them to speak their native tongues.
Yeah, that's something we've covered in the past as well.
It works great with Nakamura when he's backstage and you got the subtitles. You had a moment with this one where Asuka, Io, and Kairi are talking. Dakota translated. We know that's not the real translation because, they're talking about getting rid of Becky, or at least that's the
Right.
hint they're taking.
Right.
And then you get Santos later in the thing where he just gives a whole promo, which if you find it on Twitter, I think it's Crispy Wrestling, where they do a translation that's not the real translation.
Really?
That is just beautiful about F this, F your afro, your apples, all this stuff.
Oh, really?
It is just hilarious.
That's funny.
But if you're going to do the foreign promos, and you gotta give us some kind of transcript somewhere that we know what's going on. Otherwise, it kind of it takes you out of the moment of just what's going on. And maybe that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. I think when we in the past and we've talked about it, we talked about how like when Asuka would get fired up in the ring and just start talking in Japanese instead of trying to speak English or whatever. But yeah, when they've got a chance to translate it, they probably.
I mean, put it on. You give a news story somewhere, something that gets you to the core of what's being said. Say that you still get across what you're doing without having the. I mean, it's a live show. I get it. You're not going to have a live. The guy in the corner translating for you.
Right.
But it'd be nice.
I went ahead and while you were talking a second ago, I pulled up the card for War Games. So when we get done with SmackDown and Raw, we'll just go through real quick and run that down.
That led into a tag team matches that the key that came out of that is we're looking toward the breakup of the Brawling Brutes. It looks like because Butch inadvertently cost them the match when he brogue kicked. What is it, Holloway?
Yeah, he's so incidental to me. I couldn't tell you.
Rich Holland.
Yeah, there you go.
Where he kicked him in the face. So I think we're gonna see either Sheamus has got to come in and execute some authority, or we're gonna see a new package of Butch back to Pete Dunne, which would be nice. And during that match was something else that bugged the crap out of me. You got a camera backstage. You are watching Bobby Lashley. B-Fab comes up and starts talking to him. They start talking. Camera cuts away. If you've got a camera in the back and they are getting negotiations going on, you stay with them. You don't cut back. You give a picture. I don't care what. You are videotaping that negotiation.
Right.
Unless Bobby Lashley looks at you and says, you get the hell out of my face with that camera. I'm talking business. You tape that crap.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to figure out a way to keep that happening.
That led into my favorite part of SmackDown, which I call when threesomes go wrong. So LWO is breaking up. We get Santos come out and tell us the reasons why. And it's, this is the drama that I love in pro wrestling because it's all about just the story behind why this bad guy wants to hurt Ray for the damage he's done. And it's all comes down to just the basis of we were in this together. It was me and you, and then you brought in a third party, and now suddenly he's on the out. The thing he started, the thing he wanted is gone because of Carlito. And I loved it because he was emotional about it. He sold the reasons. It was all true reasons that you saw where, Ray took over. Ray came in. He suddenly became the star. Santos was in the back seat again. Mm-hmm. U.S. title. Who got the title?
Yeah,
Ray. So it's good. And then we get the lines of just pure hate that just made me giggle, where he's wishing Ray to get an infection, have his leg amputated.
Come on, man.
So that he never wrestles again. And I know people hate that kind of garbage. I love that because that's some hate, man.
That's nasty.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing you say, yeah, I really don't like you. And it is beautiful.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I may have to go back and watch that then.
So we get Paul Heyman, who is the master of talking crap to anybody, comes out and sells us on why Solo destroying John Cena is the greatest thing ever, and how John, Solo has single-handedly made it so that John Cena will never come back out here. And how is wait for the music. 3, 2, 1. That's right, it doesn't. You get Paul singing John Cena's music and nobody coming out, which is hilarious because Paul is so damn annoying and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
LA Knight comes out and has the worst rap battle that I call the doctor of Ugonomics.
Why would they do that to this man when he's at the height of like?
I don't know if he wrote that rap himself, but it's on par with the kind of crap my kid sings where it says when he's like, your rap is crap. It's like tree sap. And he's out there just, it is so awful.
Why would they do that to him?
Whoever that writer was, please don't do that again. But they have the match. And of course, Jimmy gets left because Paul gets a phone call and, he's got to take it. So him and Solo dip and it's beautiful.
Just got to bounce.
You just got to bounce. Shows you where Jimmy is in the
hierarchy.
It really is. And that was really just kind of all of SmackDown. There was a couple of highlights. The ladies really carried that show the entire way, which I think is such a difference between the two brands, honestly, because you see it's not like SmackDown has a lot of women on it, but they were 2 hours of that show. Yeah. Whereas AEW struggles to get one female match on the card. Meanwhile, right, front and end.
Yeah, I feel like AEW had like, maybe I'm crazy, but they had like 3 women's matches on the last one, and I was like, okay, well they're building this up, and then they had like, they had 2 on this Full Gear card, but we'll get to that shortly.
Want to go into Raw?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
So I'm pretty sure Drew saw Fast and the Furious this weekend because all he was talking about was how his family was disappointed with him at Clash in the Castle and how Jay screwed him and never said he's sorry, which is great because, it gives him a reason. The Judgment Day are dicks. He's not going to hang with, he doesn't like them, but he's going to hang with them just for one reason because Rhea promised him Jay in a cage. Yeah. And, which is solid. He has the believability of what he's saying at this stage of how, he's been wrong. And that's what I love it when a bad guy can tell you. And Santos is the same way, where they are speaking nothing but the truth. But because of the twist of their own narcissistic viewpoint, it's not accurate, but it's still 100% accurate. Yeah.
I love the next one that says Dom plays with action figures.
So we cut back to the backstage where they're in the Judgment Day clubhouse, and it's that wide shot. And there on the table is a llama with a sombrero, like a 12-inch llama, and riding it is a Rey Mysterio action figure with a sign that says "I'm a deadbeat dad." And I'm just giggling. I'm like, oh, this is 100% exactly why Dom is right, because as Santos said, that was something else he said on SmackDown. They were right. Everything they said about you was right. And Dominic was 100% right. You are an awful father.
Oh my God. He's got to jump on now, huh?
Mm-hmm. I mean, stick with what works, yeah. But it associates Santos with Dom, which is a heat magnet. Yeah. So we cut to what I call Back to the Future, and I want to talk about Becky Lynch in the sense that she has had probably 3 or 4 matches. 3 matches here in the last 6 months that has been where we all know that she's like the top of the game there. I mean, my opinion on the horsewomen. She's the number one.
Right.
She's the star.
Here. Yeah.
So last night you get Mia.
They changed it, right? Mia Yim, or is it?
No, Mia Yim is the one on SmackDown. Oh, yeah. Xia Li. Xia Li, that's who it is. I'm sorry. You get Xia Li versus Becky. And she puts that one. I mean, Xylee loses, but she held her own with Becky, and she got the rub even in the loss kind of thing. Prior to that, you got Becky putting over Lyra Valkyrie down in NXT for the belt. Prior to that, you had her doing Tiffany Stratton down there to take the belt away from her. But even still, in that loss, she was putting these people over, building that future generation, which I think is where she can show off how good she is, but still keeps her busy in that sense. Yeah. But also teach them some great habits that some of those other people might not have. And I think this might end up being where we see Jade come in, I think, in the future. Because that would be a good person to really get her partnered up with to teach some good habits.
Yeah, because they haven't really teased anything about what they're going to do with her. She's been in a couple different segments, but then they haven't come back to it, so there's no telling what's going to happen there.
We go to Miz and Gunther. We get the standoff in the middle. We get explained just once again why Miz is so great at what he does, but Gunther gets a run with the mic to explain just how full of crap Miz is, which is true, because Miz is full of crap. Miz is the ultimate entertainer. He worships his heroes. He wanted to be like them. He wants to be a hero, but everything that Miz is the exact thing that Gunther hates about the WWE, that entertainment factor, that not taking things seriously. As he says, it's not that I have a lack of respect for you, Miz. I have zero respect for you because you are the worst aspects. You came here because you were a bullied weirdo. You got here. You were bullied by the people that you idolized. And you know what? I don't think you're bullied enough. And we get that beat down to kind of solidify, which I think is probably going to be more entertaining than it deserves to be. I think Gunther might actually be able to get a fairly solid match out of this, which I think is going to be pretty fun.
I was wondering, like, if they would try to put it back on Miz just to be a transitional guy, right? Because there's really nothing left for Gunther to do.
He's in interviews, he said it himself. He's outgrown that title.
Yeah. So it's like it's time to put him in with the big boys, but I don't know if they'll do it next or not.
I don't know if Miz is. You're always trying to build. You're trying to build those unbeatable people like Gunther, like Roman, to set up your next person, The Undertaker, right. Which, sure, it went to Brock, and there's some argument to be made that was a great argument to be made that was horrible. But I don't know if Miz needs to be the one to step in to be the one to dethrone Gunther. I think there's other people that if
because he could be transitional, but then does it also devalue Gunther if you put it on Miz?
I'd say, and that's to me, I think you need somebody who's going to be that next person, whether that's going to be, Big Bronson Reed or Ivar or Ricochet or somebody who's going to, I think whoever is the one to take it from Gunther needs to be somebody that runs with it for a long time. Yeah. Not just on their way out kind of thing.
Yeah. Gotcha. So next up, Jay versus Drew.
We have the advantage match is what they build this all show long. They were building up for the War Games. To establish the advantage, the two teams had to decide who was going to be their person in the ring. So you got Drew. Priest originally wanted it, but Drew mind gamed him into letting him have it. Jay wanted to be the one because of the history that he has with Drew and the smack talk that Drew gave at the beginning. And this match, based on how they were talking through the entire thing, had potential to be a great match because Drew was out there at the beginning talking about how he just wanted to beat the crap out of Jey Uso every time he saw it because of what he had done to him. There was hate. There was anger. And then you get in there in the match. It's a solid match, but it's a standard WWE match. It wasn't if I'm talking crap to you, I want to see if you have that much hate that you're building up, you don't do just your standard match. You got to have that. If I want you in a cage, and that's the only way I can get my justice on you is beating you down inside a cage. when you lock up outside the cage, I want to see you beat the crap out of him and somebody try to run away or something, not just your standard, okay, lock up, take down, here you go, and with a quick pin kind of thing. There's got to be some emotion behind it.
Yeah.
But that leads to, the two teams coming out and doing the final promo with Cody saying that he's got the guy. And we don't see him, but we get told who it is because there's voices in his head. There's, there's people that Cody has had a legacy with.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So the crowd starts chanting Randy, and Cody says they're right. But the part about this that is the best is and it goes back to how certain people are so good at what they do inside that ring. It's the little things. When Cody starts talking all that crap about who it is leading the hens, it cuts to Jey Uso standing over on the rope, and he has the ultimate oh shit look of, how have I wronged Randy, and how is this going to come back and bite me in the ass?
Yeah.
Because he has done some horrible things to him in RK Bro.
Yeah. Yep.
So once again, you got Uso, who's going to be on the outside looking in a group that he's, found some love in.
Interesting.
That he's got to prove the point. And then you get, throughout the show, Seth was like, I got some people I can call, but I who the hell are Seth's friends in wrestling anymore?
Right.
I mean, who gets along with him? Anybody?
Not really.
He was going to call some people. I don't know who.
Yeah. I mean, you got to say it. I saw the Randy Orton announcement the other night. So, part of me was like, couldn't they have kept it a surprise? But then,
nah, I understand the reason. You're in Chicago. Those chants are going to be, you got those when we get back over to Full Gear. You heard the chants during the Golden Jet match.
Yeah.
So they would have gotten them hardcore in Chicago if it had been a mystery.
Yeah.
So I get getting ahead of that.
Excuse me. So I guess was that it? That was it for all that, right? So we can get into the card. Just jumping right into that. In the men's War Game match, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Seth Rollins versus the Judgment Day, which is Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, and Senior Money in the Bank, Damian Priest.
Who do you think?
If you're bringing Randy Orton back, I feel like they may it wouldn't make sense to let him get the pin because there's really no story there between him and the other guys at the moment, right? So it needs to be, I feel in my gut, I feel like it's going to be Cody, the Team Cody, if you want to call him that. But I don't know how it ends at this point.
See, I'm thinking it's got to be the Judgment Day.
You think so?
And I think it's got to be, Randy has to turn on Jey maybe.
Yeah.
Because he's unpredictable.
They just broadcasted his reaction, yeah.
And he's unpredictable. Nobody controls the Viper when he's been wronged. So that, you can get some heat out of that story of how he screwed it up for those people. So he built some feuds inside that own team for a little bit. But what if the Judgment Day loses? Who has to eat the pin then? Let's go there. You think it has to be McDonough? And he's the weakest link. I get that. But what story does that build at that stage?
They spent all this time trying to build up trust between him and Priest, so then maybe something could go from there, and that could be what causes Priest to leave Judgment Day.
So I'm thinking that the tension, Drew and Priest are going to get into it somewhere in there. Now, whether or not Drew prevents Priest from getting the win that he wants to get, and that causes a dissension, I don't know. But I feel like,
it could.
I feel like they have to go over because there's the Judgment Day are still a featured event on that. The Raw, every story is propelled by the villains per se. If you can have bland heroes all day long, it's those villains that make your heroes interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't see what comes out of it other than just a feel good moment.
Yeah, I don't know. This card is not very
small.
good.
It's a small card. I mean, you got like 5 matches, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but
See, you're saying it's not very good. I think it's a solid card in the sense of what it is, because you got your 2 featured matches, so those are going to be your highlight of a War Games Survivor Series.
yeah, but see, I always feel like when you do something like a War Games match, it's because you don't have anything else super hot at the moment. But it is football season, so you don't want to put your best stuff in right now.
But see, this is better than the standard Survivor Series of Raw versus SmackDown, because nobody gives a crap about the brand they're on.
Right.
The contract's a contract.
Right. You're still going out there for the same company.
You got some passion behind Miz and Gunther.
Yeah.
There's some interest there and Santos and Carlito will be on there. That's I think.
I just don't care anything about Zoe Stark, so her versus Ripley is.
And I really think that's a placeholder match to get us to, because one of the things on Raw this week is Dominic and Rhea are coming back to the clubhouse, and they find Zoe and Shayna sitting there. Shayna's tossing cards at a hat off screen or something like that. And we get a moment of, she's like, why the hell are you here? And Shayna just stands up and gets in her face and is like, I just wanted to see what it was like here. And just sizes her up for a moment and then wanders off and leaves Zoe to talk the worst smack, that where Rhea says, I'm going to whip your ass in the Survivor Series. And the response was, yeah, that's how I like it. It's like, okay,
well.
So I think Zoe is a placeholder to maybe get us to Baszler, which I could get behind that. I'm a Shayna mark. I'll admit it. We had gotten. I know they're building up Nia Jax, and she went through Gonzalez earlier in the day, so I know we're going to get there eventually. I just am really hopeful that that's not their end game with Rhea to lose the belt to Nia.
Yeah. So the women's War Games match is Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch versus Damage Control, which is Bayley, Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Io Sky. So that'll be fun, I think.
It will.
The 2 War Games matches are going to be fun. It's just like everything else feels kind of like... There's some decent stories behind both of them, because Ray's leg injury kind of limits where they were going to go with that story, I think, because he's out. He's out for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
I don't know if he comes back by the Rumble. I don't know if he comes back in time for WrestleMania.
Yeah, they haven't really
but I think
said.
that's would have been where they had gone had he not been injured. So you got a little bit of filler there with Carlito, but I think once that will lead to some significant. That's going to be a solid match. We know Carlito can go. You haven't really seen Santos go as good as he can. I think you'll be surprised by that one. And it's not just a thrown together match, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we pretty much touched on those. We did. We talked about Zoe versus Rhea for a second, and Gunther versus Miz. So yeah, Carlito versus Escobar. I mean, it'll be fine. It'll be a good Saturday night, I guess.
What else?
I haven't looked at the college football.
What's
schedule.
going on Saturday. Don't pretend like you don't know what you're doing on Saturday. It's Alabama.
Yeah. Oh, but that's at 2:30. Yeah, that game will be over. So yeah, Dynamite. Let's get into AEW. Patrick may or may not show up here. So most of these are your notes from.
I'm sorry.
Did he text us or something?
What's that?
I said, did he text us or something?
Nah, okay. I'm just laughing at the fact that these are my horrible notes here.
So yeah, most of these are yours. If you want to run down a couple of these, and then I say let's spend a little more time on
Full Gear.
Full Gear, yeah.
We start off Dynamite with Moxley versus was it Hook?
Yeah. Well, it was him and
was it a tag team
Yuta
match?
versus Orange Cassidy. Yeah.
And this comes up later on Full Gear. Okay, you are a wrestling production company. if you're going to have people fighting in the ring and you're going to have people fighting in the crowd, give me a stinking split screen.
Yeah.
Don't jump back and forth between the two, especially when you are only getting the start of a move and the aftermath of another move somewhere else when you cut. So you're losing both segments because you don't know how to produce.
Yeah, we've yelled that several times throughout the history of our show, a little over a year at this point. That is clearly a production issue that some other people in the back have not had the balls to point out to Tony. And it should be the director making that call anyway. Like, I know Tony is calling things like they're at Gorilla, but like the director should be calling that. Hey, like we've got to split screen this, and they should know that beforehand, so it shouldn't be a problem.
I mean, the match should be laid out somewhat.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen.
They know what's going to happen, so they know that they've got cables pulled in a certain direction to let the camera ops get down there or away from the ring or whatever. Then they ought to know that they're going to have to give us a split screen.
And it's a
double box, whatever you want to call it.
The tag team matches in AEW just frustrate the crap out of me because I don't understand, and it's not rocket science. But I don't understand the rules of AEW tag matches because you get a rare tag, but it's like, it's Calvin ball in the sense that anytime that you think you start, they're like, well, we're going to change the rules to this. You can only tag me if I'm, touching the ring post kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. That was one of FTR's main complaints.
When they're just as guilty as anybody else now.
Yeah. When they signed, they were like, well, we got to have tag ropes. Got to make tag ropes a constant.
But and speaking of FTR, that was another production issue. We got the promo picture of Roosh versus Dax Hardwood.
That's not the first time. That is not the first time they've done Dax Hardwood.
And it's like, how? Somebody's got to be back there knowing the names of your wrestlers or something, right?
Well, those graphics get made early in the day. You have plenty of time to
Somebody's
review
proofreading.
Yeah.
But no.
Just as somebody that has worked in a production truck, like those are made by well before the show gets ready to start.
How many times you got to make that mistake before you get rid of that guy?
I mean, if I'm Dax, I'm in Tony's ear about it, especially after the first time, like, yeah, that's funny. I get it. Like, it's a slip. But the second time, you got to be like, because he even tweeted about it.
You call him Dax the Axe.
Yeah.
It's better than this.
Something,
So I've changed my mind on Murder Hawk. Murder Hawk was right. Beat the crap out of those security guards because they are the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. They stood outside that ring looking at what to do as I forget who it was at this point, getting a beat down. And they looked to each other like, should we get in there and stop this? I don't know. Maybe. It was a full 5 seconds before they all came to agreement and then jumped in there to get their own beat down. But it's like the dumbest look ever. And go ahead, kill them all, Murder. Kill them. Just knock them, slam them around.
Yeah. You've got some interesting notes there about the street fight with Paul White.
Yes. What was it? Like a Dragon Gaiden, Man Who Forgot His Name street fight is everything I hate about AEW in one match. The stupid names of the Like a Dragon Gaiden street fight, which I get that they got 6 figures for that.
You got to promote somehow.
You got to promote it somehow. But that title of that match was so dumb. You get the split screens where you got something happen over here. We're going to cut to it. You're not going to see what it is, but okay. Paul White choke slams, was it Brian Cage through a thing, cut away from it. Next thing you cut back over to Paul White. He's walking to the back. I assumed he was having to take a poop at that point because he didn't have anything else going on. A couple minutes later, you find out, Brian Hobbs had gone back there. Is it Brian Hobbs?
Will
Hobbs was back there, and which led to a cool spot of him getting slammed on that thing. But there are certain moves in AEW. It's not AEW because Dragon Lee did the same stupid move on SmackDown. There are certain moves that are just dumb as heck that get highlighted in these kind of things. You got Jericho getting DDT'd onto a plush leather couch cushion in the back. You got, who is it?
I don't even remember who was in the match.
Ibushi?
Yeah.
Got on a bike.
He was on the bike, yeah.
Came down with a lead pipe and was like playing duck, duck, goose with the lightest tap I have ever seen anybody with a pipe. If he had just walked up and hit somebody with a pipe, it would have been more impactful than him trying to get momentum and then coming by him like, ee. Well,
and he was just like, it looked like he was struggling to keep the bike upright. And I think that was part of the problem.
You got the is it Ibushi who gets slammed, that gets DDT'd by, who was the fourth person in that? Who was because it was the you had Hobbs, you had Cage, you had.
See, like I said, I don't even remember.
Well, somebody DDT'd somebody off the ring apron through a wooden panel onto chairs.
Yeah.
And Ibushi ate that DDT. Yet somehow he recovers before the guy who does the pile driver. Through the thing.
Well, and Paul White just disappeared after he put Will through the window of that car.
And it was. You start off that match with a statement of, Jericho's too smart to come down to the ring. Yet Jericho is dressed in a suit and a long tie. Paul White is dressed in a suit and a long tie. You are telling me that they are so smart that they dressed in a tie to be put into a street fight to not get choked out by the very tie they are wearing.
Yeah.
There is so many logical flaws in this, and it is whoever produced that match, I get that they were trying to emulate the video game because they had all the same things that were in the video game that you'd get to pick up, and bless them for doing it. But it is the type of match that just makes me go, why am I watching this garbage?
Yeah. It was a weird way to like lead into your pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch Collision, but I mean, this was, just a handful of days before the pay-per-view. Like, it just seemed like there could have been something else happening there. Speaking of the pay-per-view, I mean, we can go ahead and get into it.
Because another thing, we talked about last week about how you thought WWE was piping in crowd noise.
Just for the Dom segment.
I wish that AEW would pipe in crowd noise because, and I get that it's Collision. I get that it's Rampage. Well, that one was on Dynamite even still. So there should have been a still crowd there. People hadn't left for those tapings at that stage. But it seems like such a dead crowd that there's no response to any of it. Pipe it in. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
If I turn it on and if I don't hear people reacting to your stuff, I kind of think that, you can. It's the Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory isn't funny.
Right.
But they've got a laugh track behind it to let you know where you should have, they thought you should laugh at a joke so people think it's a funny show.
Right.
So put a crowd noise behind some of your stuff to make me realize and think that stuff that isn't going over might be going over better somewhere else. And I'm just the idiot.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think it kind of cheapens it a bit, but at the same time, like, you don't want it to appear that your product is not popping off. So, I mean, that's where you got to think about what are you putting, at the end of your show leading into a pay-per-view.
The only other thing I had was Rampage, where Action Andrade or Action Andropsy nearly gave a solid no-neck November.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't see that.
He tried to do a standing Spanish fly, and it landed full on. They stopped. He was rolled out, hit the move, landed on Roderick's neck. Andrade was on top of him. The ref yanked him off instead of even trying to pull a pin.
Oh, wow.
Had the doctor come in, and they sat there for a long time working on Roddy before they finally got up and let him go to the finish of the match.
Yikes.
So it was almost a solid no-neck November.
Yikes. Well, let's start off the Full Gear recap with Sting, Darby, and Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus. I loved the war paint on Copeland. I thought that was awesome.
He's the one in that group. Sting's makeup is always going to be Sting's makeup. Mm-hmm. He's had that makeup for 30-something years now?
Yeah.
But of the two people that wore the skull makeup, Copeland wears it better.
Copeland looked cool, yeah. I mean, which I think it was because we're not used to seeing it on him, and it was to see all three of them.
I think it's the beard, too. It gives it more of a little bit of a a rough nature as opposed to the baby face
right
Darby doing it.
Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
I mean, fun way to start a pay-per-view.
I love the orphan. I know they're not orphans. I know it's just children singing, but I love the orphans singing Christian Cage to the ring.
And then the text and inside the numbers about, each one, descriptors of him, just gold.
But what did I say on this one? It's okay to cheat as long as you're overthrowing the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And they talked about it in the match. It's up to the referee's discretion. So the referee's discretion was to allow Ric Flair to punch Cage in the face and chop him a few times before getting punched in the crotch, which, Cage remembers. he got his vengeance it took him 3 years to get his nut shot back on Flair. But it goes back to my beef of, if you're going to have rules, have rules.
Yeah.
Have the ref look away, because it's going to come up multiple times during this pay-per-view, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony Storm, we'll get to that. But anyway, just, a good opening match. Sting got to say, bye to LA, and you had his son there on the front. Was it?
Cage runs off.
Yeah. Had his son there on the front row, he got to hang out in the ring for a little bit as they went to the next, segment or whatever. So just a solid start. I thought the pay-per-view overall was pretty good. Couple things here and there, obviously, that were not the greatest, but overall pretty good. So did you have any final thoughts on that before we move to the next one?
We can get on to Mox.
Yeah, Mox versus Orange Cassidy. Cassidy retains. I was a little shocked at that. I thought they might go Moxley, but
and I'll be honest, I was ready to come in here to hear Patrick go off on this, because I think this was a horrible idea to keeping it on Cassidy.
You think so?
Yeah. We talked about it last week that Moxley is a top guy, and that is potentially the top guy in that promotion. Will Orange Cassidy ever be the top guy, or is he kind of in the position where he needs to be?
I think for now he's still in the position where he needs to be. Like he was a nobody when he was brought in to AEW.
And don't get me wrong, I love Orange Cassidy. I love the slacker dopehead mentality that comes in. My son loves the half thumb. Even Jamie, my wife, is still she's coming around to at least Orange Cassidy. She is still not a fan of AEW. She has made a point to tell me several times since Full Gear the other night, but she does enjoy Cassidy when he's on. But to me, if Moxley is your top guy and Orange Cassidy is it would be the equivalent to me in the WWE of having Santino come in and beat Seth Rollins clean.
Yeah. I mean, I can see your point.
Because, don't get me wrong, Santino was over. People loved the Cobra. He played the great character. Dude made his money.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy, he's got a good character. He's grown that character nicely. I like the evolution of it, but I don't see him in his current Pokemon form. I don't see him holding the. If you put him next to Swerve Strickland, who are you going to put a belt on?
Swerve 6 months ago. I didn't say Swerve. Orange Cassidy, but Swerve now. You got to go Swerve.
Adam Page versus Orange Cassidy. Who's going to be your top guy in that one?
Look, you're making valid points, and that's not what I needed you to do here. It was a good match.
It was a solid match. I love the fact that it took 17 orange punches to do it, and Moxley to headbutt the exposed turnbuckle to do it. And I think we're going to get another Yuta versus Hook story out of this.
Probably, yeah. They were just in the tag match a few days before with each other.
But it was a solid match. I'm not mad at that one. I'm not sure that the right person went over.
Yeah.
But, that's arguable.
Yeah, maybe it's just because they put the belt back on Cassidy not too long ago. They obviously had to make a last minute change. before. And so maybe they're just like, well, it would look like we just had to do it. So maybe they're just leaving it on him longer to make this run look a little better before they do switch it and put it on somebody different. You know,
and he's had a solid run.
I mean, maybe Swerve gets the belt in a month or two.
I mean, he's got to go somewhere. We'll get to that.
Yeah, something's gonna happen there sooner than later, I think. So that could be it. Next up, Toni Storm versus Sheeta. Toni gets the win with the blue plate special.
I thought it was going to be the other way around, but this one was an example of what I was talking about with making adjustments to things as we're going along. This match was so full of shenanigans that were just missed time, and I'd still question. I get that Luther is her butler, but why the hell do you have a Luther on your payroll to begin with?
Right.
So you get Toni Sheeta had the cane. Luther was supposed to grab it before she hit Toni. Luther won't get where he needed to be, so she hit her. I mean, she pulled back at the last moment, but she hit with a cane. Referee, that's okay. We don't mind. Referee's discretion at that stage was we're going to stick with this, even though we just got the champion hitting somebody with a cane. You get Luther passing a shoe. Audrey Edwards comes in there and takes that shoe from her. Toni pulls out the second shoe that she's hidden in her butt. Cut to further along where Toni yanks the boot off of Sheeta. And you got Audrey Edwards standing in the corner going, oh my goodness, she's got a shoe. What am I to do? I don't know. You took one shoe from her earlier in the match.
Where's the other one? Yeah.
Why don't you step up now? Then you get Toni shoving the metal plate in her pants.
Yeah, they just didn't do a very good job with that.
And it did not stay. So it's stuck to her butt. She hits the move. She turns. She has her butt in Audrey Edwards' face. And it's not like, oh, there was a hint of a plate. There was a full dinner serving plate platter on her butt cheek / thigh.
Yeah. I think the only thing keeping it there was probably the fishnet hose
and sweat.
Yeah, because she put it down, on her butt inside her bottom, whatever you want to call it. It's essentially a little more than panties at that point, right?
Yep.
Her shorts. So then it just falls out of the shorts, right? And it's almost halfway down her leg, it felt like. And then, yeah, like you said, right in Audrey Edwards' face.
And it wasn't like there was no, at that point, you have to make an adjustment and go what is this? And, have her, the match can still end the way you need it to end, but have Audrey, be like, what's this plate? Have something else happen where Toni has to hit another move. Yeah. But you need to make an adjustment because it just looks goofy.
Yeah, that's a big concern about this one. It's the outcome I wanted. I wanted Toni to win. But when I saw that plate falling out, I was like, hey, something's not right here. And then just being right in front of Audrey's face, she's got to figure it out. And Tony Khan can see all of that from Gorilla. So
and they got earpieces.
They got earpieces for the ref. Somebody's got to be calling an audible there.
He was hanging out with Jim Morrison, not Jim Morrison, whatever, the NWA cocaine, just face down, going, I don't care.
Yeah, so
allegedly,
that's my only thing with that is good outcome, but they botched the performance there.
But that led to the match of the night for me. Well, I think this was a solid match. There's two matches that are competing for it, but I think one did it better than the other one. And I think this one, the 4-way ladder match really hit for me.
Yeah, Kings of the Black Throne, LFI, Big Bill and Ricky Starks versus FTR. And Ricky and Big Bill retain.
It was a solid ladder match, a lot of crazy-ass moves. Again, this goes back to some moves are just stupid, where you get the dueling ladders in this one, where we're both holding ladders. We're going to sword fight with ladders. We had done it the week before with chairs, where we had a sword fight with chairs, where we're just swinging chairs, hitting chairs at each other. And then you've got LFI puts somebody's, I don't even remember whose head it was. I think it was probably Cash at this point, puts his head on a turnbuckle and then kicks the bottom of the padded turnbuckle. Like that is one of the stupidest close-up moves. You're like kicking somebody in the face with a pillow.
Right.
But that, and it goes back, again, this goes back to the production, because there's a point where, was it Brody that got pile driven, or was it Malachi that got pile driven onto the ladder that was stretched between the apron and the announce table?
I think it was Brody, if I remember correctly.
And then you have, who was it? Cash down there trying to readjust the ladder.
Yeah.
And Jose, is that the Ungovernables?
Yeah.
They're both over there going, here, help me put this ladder. Why are you working with that guy when he's getting ready to put your guy through that ladder?
Yeah.
You don't help him set that ladder up. And if you're going to, which you need to, because that's what he's there to help facilitate the logistics, you don't focus on the camera on that on that spot.
Director's got to know better.
You also, that was Nigel put that match over great, and he spat truth to me, because he was talking about there's too many damn acronyms in AEW. Yeah. And meanwhile, Taz is over there breaking his back trying to, to get
FTW in there.
Yeah, FTW and his son. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, let it go.
Yeah.
I love you, Taz, but let it go.
FTW is not a thing.
I'm glad you made yourself a belt. I'm glad that you made it through multiple promotions. Let it go, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you decided that the belt you made was going to go to your son.
Yeah, good call there. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah, good match. I mean, lots of fun happening here. Some good stuff with Big Bill in the press conference afterward. They're talking about his sobriety and all that. Good stuff.
I'm glad they have and this is going to touch on the match later on. I am glad they have the tag titles, but when we get to the Golden Jets versus Young Bucks, I'll explain what I think that those tag titles are actually serving to do.
Gotcha. Well, let's move on to Julia Hart versus Sky Blue versus Statlander for the TBS champion. This is not the way I thought this would go. Not mad at it. It makes sense. Julia Hart gets the win.
By pinning Sky at that.
Yeah. I thought it was a solid match. Like when I went into it, I was like, Statlander will retain and it'll be fine. But it does make a lot of sense to put it on Julia, because, they established the House of Black as like this dominant force. And Patrick and I thought they would just be trios titles champs for a hot minute, but now they're not. So you got to have somebody in that needs to have a belt of some sort. So it makes sense for it to be Julia.
I'm fine with her being the youngest title holder ever. I'm fine with. I think she's come a long way from where she was.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weird to me that she's now the most decorated member of House of Black. It's even more irksome that someone as talented as Buddy Matthews got a throwaway match on the kickoff show.
Yeah.
And had a throwaway match, prior to that. This dude was
the card's pretty loaded. Andrade's not on there though. Like, somebody's gonna have to be at the house.
It is, but still, he was the best kept secret in WWE on NXT, or not NXT, but Level Up or whatever the heck it was.
Mm-hmm.
205 Live. That's what it was. He was the best kept secret there. He has made no difference over here either. He is still the best kept secret, because you don't get to see just how stupid talented that man is in the ring.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. It's just like, where do you put him?
And the other thing that was weird to me about this match, it's your television title. It's the women's television title at this. And they call it the TNT title?
Yeah.
But it's our TBS title?
TBS.
But it's your television title, and it was higher on the card than your women's championship.
Yeah.
Who was being fought for by arguably your biggest woman star at that point.
Yeah. True. Yeah, that is a little weird now that I'm just scrolling at the notes. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. That is odd. I don't know why they would do that. I mean, I guess. I
mean, I get the idea that you're following that ladder match. That's in theory your break, your cool down match, which is sad.
Well, because then you got to have something between that and Swerve and Hangman Adam Page.
And whatever's going to be between that is going to be. But still, to me, it's weird that I'm not sure how I would have rearranged it to put that. Maybe put the tag team Jets versus Bucks there.
Yeah, because that didn't need to be where it was.
And then put the Tony Storm one in that position.
That fixes that.
But
let's go on into the next thing because we're getting close to an hour here. Will Ospreay is all elite. Almost, according to you. He was the big signing they were hyping leading up to the weekend, which this was the moment of the whole show when I like yelled and was like fist pumping in my living room. I was super stoked. We had some discussions and you're like, maybe it's Dolph Ziggler. I was like, no, that would piss me off so bad.
Contract isn't up till the end of the year.
Okay. I didn't know that.
But Ospreay's contract isn't up till the end of January either.
Yeah. And he's got some other appearances. So he's not even going to be around until later in 2024.
If you're Tony Khan and you just spent, I'm assuming, a lot of money.
Yeah.
How worried are you that this dude is going to be over there doing some strong style stuff?
I think it's fucked up.
And you've got several months when you've got Bryan on the shelf, Daniel Bryan on the shelf.
Yeah.
You got Cole on the shelf. You got MJF potentially on the shelf right now. You got Darby Allin going out for a while.
So what happened? Like, did MJF really get injured?
Yeah.
And that was just their way to cover it?
Yeah. Well, no, MJF got injured during the match.
Oh, the final match.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
Yeah. When he did the elbow.
Oh, fuck.
He popped his hip. He popped it out of joint. So
really?
They had to pop it back in. So he is going to be on TV, but in a limited capacity for a while.
I missed that.
But you're putting a lot of money on the line for a dude to not get injured while he's wrestling somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Hey, bless you. Good on you, man. I hope it works out for you.
Fingers crossed.
He adds a lot to that. He is a solid worker. He is a solid star. He has the type of matches that AEW fans love. He instantly, gets a decent position on the card. I assume there's a spot where he'll fit nicely.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the one that take the belt off Orange.
It'd be a long time to keep it on him though. Because we'll only get a couple of appearances here and there from Ospreay until later next year is what I was under the impression of, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we still got several things to go. So let's keep it moving. Swerve, Strickland versus Adam, highlight of the night for me.
It was a wild match, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hangman was just fucking madman right out of the gate for the first, 5 to 10 minutes? It was all Hangman.
And I'm going to say it. That's how you get hepatitis, man. I'm sure they tested everybody, but dude drank the dude's blood. I mean, not just like a lick on a thing. He sat underneath him and poured himself a cup of Swerve.
Yeah, that was fucking disgusting.
That was a full 16 ounce. It would have been illegal to drink that much blood in New York City.
Yeah, that was rough, man.
You were angry.
Yeah, I was mad. I was like, why are they bringing Cage out? I was like, there's no reason that
I was mad that it didn't happen sooner.
Yeah, like if you were going to do it, then come out sooner. He's a villain with a posse, but also at the same time, this was personal between these two dudes. It's not like Cage had beef with him too.
No, but if you are Swerve, it is Swerve's house.
Sure.
Everybody who is in that mogul thing is a secondary there to help Swerve, whether they realize it or not at times.
But my whole point was they were having such a good show between the two of them, then you got to muddy it up.
They should have been out there at the beginning. They should have put a beat down. They should have put a beat down on Adam.
Yeah.
That they thought, okay, we're good. We can leave.
Yeah, I mean, that was my issue with it, was that if it was going to happen, like if they were going to do it, it should have been sooner, right?
But meanwhile, you got Brian Cage comes out there and basically takes a barbed wire punch to the head, and suddenly he can't fight anymore after you just watched a dude get hit with put through a board, hit with a chair wrapped in barbed wire, be choked with barbed wire, be dropped on a cinder block, it's just that ratchet up of damage. And meanwhile, the biggest dude that you have on your team comes out and gets laid out with a punch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but all in all, this was still the highlight of the night for me.
It was a solid match. I loved it. It was long. It's not going to be, I've heard this on so many different places now. It was not for everybody because of what it is.
Yeah.
But it was it was the most insane death match I had seen.
A lot of drama for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I am happy with who went over on this one.
Sure. Yeah.
Because
it was the way it needed to be, right?
Swerve has so much more potential than Adam Page. I mean, we can say a lot of things about what CM Punk did behind the scenes. He won't wrong about Adam. that dude is.
I love it. I'm a Hangman Mark, so it's hard for me to say that. But this was the right call, right, for this story.
Adam he had his run.
Yeah.
He had it, but he will never be more than the TNT champion to me.
Yeah. Well, come on, man.
I'm sorry.
Let's get into Young Bucks versus Jericho and Omega. Should have been different placed on the card, like you mentioned earlier.
Especially because they again, you just had a match where a dude got knocked out with a cinder block and choked with a chain, had blood gushing to the point that everybody was bleeding. Jericho gets stomped on the arm and has a little cut. Oh, Jericho's got an ouchie. His arm doesn't work. Oh, no. You can't have and I'm not sure if it was planned that way or if he just got scratched in the move, but you can't put a match where you're going to do quote unquote damage to the point of incapacitating a dude from doing his finishing move after a match that has gone that insanely over the top.
Yeah. Then you're just looking like child's play out there.
And they were going to do the lion sawed or something, and you had the two Bucks laying on the ground and they both had to do inchworms over because Jericho won't going to make it. And it's like, you are the heart of you are the elite. You are the middle letter of your wrestling company's thing, and you don't have the common sense of where to lay down at times. No, what is Nick Jack? And yeah, the right team won on that one. And here's why I say this. Jericho and Kenny Omega are big stars in that company. They are your top guys, along with Moxley. Ricky Starks and Big Bill are your tag team champions. Jericho and Omega are now going to go after them. This is designed to put not that tag team over. This is designed. Big Bill is the sacrifice in that group. He will be the one that does not get anywhere beyond where he's at right now. He's a big tall guy, but he doesn't have the charisma to be huge.
Yeah, there's 10 other people, more than that on this roster.
And Ricky Starks now is in a position to be fighting your two of your top best dudes, guys in your company. This is not a tag team title. It's a tag team title run, but it's designed to get Stark over. Yeah. Is all this is designed to do, and It is wonderful.
Yeah. That's a good point to call out. Because he's had some really solid matches against top talent in that company, but yeah, I mean, very valid point there.
It gets him a belt, gets him up there with people that have had the main title and held it believably while not putting him in the title run with someone who he would just get fed to at this stage.
Yeah. So title match, MJF versus Jay White.
This was the most convoluted thing.
There was a lot going on here.
Can we? And I said this in the thing, and y'all laughed at me. But at this point, Tony Khan is my main choice for who's behind the devil mask at this stage, because he is one of two things as far as character. He is either incompetent owner, or a hidden supervillain, because he obviously hates Adam Cole. MJF got his leg hurt, got taken away to a hospital, not allowed to wrestle. They were going to give the belt to Jay White. Adam Cole comes out with a cast on his leg that he can't put weight on.
It's clearly not medically cleared.
But he gets medically cleared to go wrestle that match.
Well, it wasn't that he got medically cleared. He just said, hey, I'm going to wrestle that match. And Tony didn't step in and say, no, you're not.
Gets better, though. Hold on. MJF steals an ambulance, comes back. On his way to the ring, you have no less than 8 people trying to stop him from getting into the ring to replace the dude that is on one stinking leg with crutches. They are stopping the guy who is walking, limping,
well, yeah,
but walking, from getting into a match to replace the dude that literally has one leg. That's supervillain, man. That is supervillain. That's my belief of why Tony Khan is now your devil.
It's a funny point, but I don't know if that's going to work.
Would you, if you whipped off the mask, it's not CM Punk. Would you buy Tony?
At this point, it wouldn't surprise me because you've brought it up, but I don't know.
Would you pop for it? Would it be an acceptable devil?
No.
Okay.
No. One thing of note from me, the MJF cutter to the outside was just one of the most beautiful. The camera placement and everything, we complain about production on this, but whoever they had the camera operator,
he was in the right place for that.
Right place for that one.
This is the ultimate hypocrisy of AEW, though. MJF has made a lot of noise about how you don't have to work the way a lot of AEW wrestlers work. Mm-hmm. And then he goes out there today on that match, and he worked a lot of the way the AEW people work while trying to sell a broken leg. And then that leg was only broken when he needed to be broken. Yeah. And meanwhile, he's doing, Shawn Michaels elbows. He's doing the cutters. He's doing leaps and dives left and right. And why does every match in AEW have somebody biting somebody?
It seems like a lot of the big ones do for some reason.
You had Moxley bit Hook in that match they had on that one. You had Moxley biting Orange Cassidy.
I mean, it makes sense for somebody like Mox, right? But when the other people do it, it's like, ooh.
What are the rules of an AEW match in the sense that, because the Kingdom, they're allowed to punch you in the dick?
This has been a Patrick point of contention for a hot minute because, we've talked before about like, if you can't defend the title within a 30-day period, is it relinquished? These are rules that should be placed somewhere on the AEW site.
I appreciate the fact that they explained why Jay White was going to get the title prior to that match, because he had a contract. Mind you, it took 2.5 hours to get that explanation.
Right.
But the contract says if it's not being defended, he's automatically had, to my thought, he already had the match. It was, he was already the uncrowned champ.
But then something like that doesn't make sense to say like, okay, well, Cole can go out there and defend it for MJF. That makes zero fucking sense.
None. And they were perfectly willing to just jump through so many different hoops with this match. You had people coming back and beating on his leg with a thing. And what I called this outsourcing, and it was the stupidest outsourcing ever. You had the ref in the ring. MJF is grabbing his leg. The ref feels the need to call the ringside doctor over to examine the leg. And what the ref said to the doctor was, ask him if he can continue.
That's why he called you, man.
That is your job as a ref to say, hey, can he continue? The doctor is supposed to come over there and say, no, he can't continue. Not giving, and you get MJF flicking the doctor off saying, no, I continue. That should be a middle finger for the ref. Yeah. The doctor is called in to say, no, this match has to end because he can't compete whether he wants to or not.
Yeah. It was a weird ending to the show. The lack of reveal with the devil was weird. The fact that Adam Cole showed up and we're like, okay, well, here's the devil reveal. It's coming. And I kept waiting. And
nearly cost the dude the match twice.
Yeah. And then at the end, I see, you know, like I was like, it's lingering. And then I was like, I see the copyright pop up in the bottom screen. I was like, well, it's fucking over.
Yeah. And it took a long time for that. And there was a drawn out thing.
Yeah.
What does this say about Jay White? He could not beat a one-legged dude after having people come out there to help him beat a one-legged dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid point.
And my question is, because I've been thinking about this a lot, about how the thought process is MJF went Super Cena kind of thing. If he's injured, by beating an uninjured Jay White, you know, you weaken Jay. And then you get the argument of, well, what about Cody versus Seth? Because it was the same kind of thing. A one-armed man beat up Seth. But to me, that was more believable in the sense than what we get out of this one. And I'm not sure why I'm willing to suspend that disbelief, other than one was a very obvious blood gushing, bruised up injury that, you know, made him feel like an underdog, worked under it. He didn't do a lot of moves that required that arm, whereas MJF with a broken leg was diamond cuttering out of the ring, doing leaps off of. He was supposed to go through the table. Yeah. But instead he landed did it on the floor, popped his hip out of socket. And so now did you watch the presser for him?
I saw bits and pieces. I didn't see the whole thing.
It was over the Crimea River, man.
Yeah.
He came out there.
So was that legit or was that?
No, if that's legit, he has the weirdest overacting personality that I have ever seen in a person. That was him trying to sell. Yeah. And it did not come across well for me. Yeah. But
it looked like it was a little too much. The couple of clips I did see, I didn't see the whole thing. So
I stand again 100%. He's already signed that contract. Yeah. There is no way he is not at this stage.
I figured as much too. But it is interesting to keep, which he hasn't. A couple of weeks ago, he said something about the bidding war of 2024.
Yeah. I mean,
but he's put the company over so much recently on like live TV and then the pay-per-views and stuff like that. Like, I feel like he's probably signed also.
The only other thing I had on that was Eddie Kingston, where he came out there and was talking about defending the ROH belt and the Strong Style belt, and that whoever wins the Continental Classic will be.
So is the Continental Classic going to be
a new belt?
Well, is it going to be similar to the Owen Hart, where it's like you just have it for a year, but you don't have to defend it? It's not a thing, really, right? Because right now, and I don't remember, to be completely honest, whoever won the Owen Hart last year doesn't bring it to the ring. You know, they did it the first year with Britt and Adam Cole. It was Willow. Willow and who else? Who was the male winner? Shit, I don't remember.
There are too many damn belts on the AEW.
There's a lot,
and I get some of them are ROH. I get some of them are AAA. I get some of them that because you have opened that forbidden door and you are working with multiple different companies, and because you own a second company that has its own title belts, you have every promotion that you associate with has a belt. But there's just too darn many, and I have to think at this stage that this was part of the negotiation with Ospreay. I mean, I know that one of the things that he said that he's happy with is that he doesn't have to move his kids. Yeah. WWE, if he wanted to see his family, he would have had to move those kids. Right. If he was working with in New Japan, I think that Tony probably was able to negotiate saying, hey, look, I'll combine my ROH title and your strong title into one title so that you can, put over how great your belt is, that it's worth all three of these belts. So I think that's part of the negotiation well.
Could have been. Had a lot of haters on our TikTok account a couple months ago. I think I mentioned it last week, our most popular TikTok ever was about how Tony Khan should back up Brink's truck to Ospreay's house and just put a contract on the table. And everybody's like, he'll never do that. He said he doesn't want to live here. I'm like, you don't have to live here.
No, and that's the thing. WWE, you got to live here.
Yeah.
Because you are touring so much here. And that may be changing with what they're doing in Germany, Australia, France, England, how they're expanding into the global touring company.
Yeah.
But AEW, you can be, there's enough people in that company, evidently, that you can not be here at any given moment for long periods of time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for us. Hopefully Patrick will get something recorded and we'll have it here at the very end. Survivor Series coming up on Saturday. We did a quick rundown on the card. Maybe it'll be better than what I'm expecting.
I think we're going to be surprised with it.
Yeah, maybe so.
It'll be a solid B.
Yeah. It might be a little too high. We'll see.
Oh.
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, or X, as it were. We're still there for whatever reason at Alabama Slam Pod. Just on Facebook, you just search Alabama Slam Podcast. You can go to tpublic.com and get t-shirts. Just search for Alabama Slam or the Alabama Take. The Alabama Take is our network of friends and fellow podcasters. Go to the alabamatake.com and follow them on all social media. We got 2 sports podcasts. There's the Stare Down and Taking on Sports that are weekly right now. Taking It Down, a weekly TV podcast. Check Your Shelf, monthly book podcast by my lovely wife and her friend Jennifer. And then there's We Are a Star War with me and a couple of my best friends, Jim and Corey. And then This Song Sucks is still going, I believe. Where they just basically talk about what songs they think suck, and they pick one per episode. So follow everybody there, and we'll be back next week with our Survivor Series recap.